There's quite a bit of news surrounding the West Virginia Mountaineers football program in the last 24 to 48 hours. Some of it on the field, some of it off the field. Some of it related to the present, some of it regarding the future of the program. We're going to cover it all in this episode of Couz's Corner. So stick around and we'll have that conversation right now. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college sports news and analysis surrounding the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12. Here at Couz's Corner, you get an objective analysis from a fan's perspective. And in today's episode, we're covering a couple different topics. First of all, the future of the West Virginia Mountaineer football program and some financial moves that are being made and have been made to help WVU be more competitive on the gridiron. We're also going to talk about the future of the quarterback position and why it likely will not include Nicco Marchiol. And as part of that conversation, in the second half of the show, we're also talking about who's going to play quarterback on Saturday against BYU. So let's go ahead and dive into the show. The first thing we're going to talk about is the financial future of the West Virginia program. A couple different topics here. First of all, in a recent article over at WVNews.com, Wren Baker did an exclusive interview with him and talked about his plans and his desire to build premium seating at Milan Puskar Stadium. Now, Wren's talked about this in some interviews before, how he wants to do this and how important it is for the future of Mountaineer athletics to generate revenue. And here's a quote from Wren from this article. It says, "The fact that we haven't done it in the last 20 years is the reason why our budget is near the bottom of the Big 12 right now. And because our budget is near the bottom of the Big 12, we can't build something that isn't cash flow positive, or at the very least, it can't be a drain. We can't spend more on debt service than it is generating in revenue. We have to continue to develop premium seating for football, and we have to look at that in basketball as well." Now, when you look at the details, I'm not going to read this article verbatim, but I'll go over just some of the highlights here. When you look at the details of this plan that Wren Baker is looking into and talking with folks about, trying to get approval from the board for, it's more than just a dream right now. They're actually putting it into motion. They're in the silent phase now where they're talking to donors, they're talking to stakeholders, talking to people who might be willing to commit to buying some of these premium suites, because they're looking to triple the size of the suites. Right now, they only have 12 luxury suites. They're looking to triple that and double the size of the current press box, which is where the premium seating is located. It would be the largest expenditure, the largest project ever undertaken by the WVU athletic department. $100 million. That's a ton of cash. It's a lot of money. But Wren Baker is confident he would get that ROI on that. So that tells you just how far behind West Virginia has been. Why was this not done a long time ago? Makes no sense to me. But I trust Wren's vision with this. And if all other schools in the Power 4 and heck, even at the G6 level have a larger number of premium suites, then apparently that tells you something. And the fact that almost all of them have a larger budget than West Virginia should tell you something. So I like the fact that Wren Baker has this project at the forefront and is trying to push this through. He's hoping that they will eventually be able to tell us about the entire master plan, a WVU facilities master plan, because he has plans for other things as well. He mentioned the suites. They want to do more premium suites for basketball. They're wanting to build new practice facilities for, the Olympic sports that are having to share the Coliseum right now with the basketball programs. And if they do that, not only would it give those sports their own place to practice and play, it would also open up more opportunities to use the Coliseum for potential revenue-generating events like concerts. So there's more than one direct reason here why Wren wants to do these things. This is one of those, if you build it, they will come type scenarios. Now, obviously, he's got to go out and get the commitments first before they can move the ball down the court, pun intended. or move the ball down the field, I guess is the best way to put it in this case, before they can move forward. But it looks like they're moving along in that process. They're talking to architects and engineers. They have a plan. They have a plan, and it looks like they're getting closer and closer to being able to give us more details about that plan in the very near future. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is about a more immediate future for the West Virginia football program, and it's related to the rev sharing. Yesterday, I was listening to the Three Guys Before the Game podcast with Hoppy Kirchville, Tony Caridi, and Brad Howe. I'm sure most of you know it. And they got into a conversation about this year, whether or not it could be considered year zero. Hoppy was giving his explanation as to why he thinks it's year zero. One of the things he touched on was the revenue sharing plan for the Mountaineers. Just to give you a background on it, the way the revenue sharing works, it was, first off, the athletes are now getting, and this is overall throughout the athletic department, athletes are getting a share of about $20.5 million total in revenue. That's about what players are getting for the 2025-26 academic year. About $20.5 million total for all sports. That's their share of the revenue. Obviously, football is going to get the highest percentage of that, and West Virginia is not necessarily releasing the details on that. But Hoppy believes it's somewhere in the $13, $15 million range, somewhere in that ballpark, that's going towards the football program. But he went on to talk about how West Virginia, for this football season, did not spend their entire allotment of the rev share money. He says they may have somewhere from $3 to $4 to $5 million left over to use next season. I'm going to leave a link to this episode that I'm talking about. I think it's somewhere around the 52-minute mark. You'll hear Hoppy talking about this. But I encourage you to listen to the whole show. Support those guys. But they will have money, revenue sharing money left over from this year going into next year. Now, I put something about it on X. A lot of fans are kind of disagreeing with it, saying, hey, there's no way, it's not legal, it's not allowed. Somebody even posted a screenshot with the rules saying, hey, it can't be carried over. It can be carried over from season to season in football because it's based on what? It's based on the academic year, not the football season. The academic year starts July 1 and goes through June 30th of the following year. So for this year, the academic year started July 1, 2025, does not end until June 30th, 2026. When does the transfer portal open? January. Is that not within the academic calendar year? It is. So that $3 to $5 million is still being spent or allocated. I'm not sure how it works, but nonetheless, it's going to be spent or allocated within the academic year. But for two separate football seasons. Some schools chose to front load for this season. West Virginia's not. They're doing somewhat of the opposite. They're backloading it for 2026 season. Now, a lot of fans don't like the fact they're doing that. I don't know the reason. Maybe it just so happened that by the time they got through all of their negotiations with players, by the time all the money was spent that they had negotiated, they have this pot of money left over that they can put back for next season. Maybe they knew 2025 was going to be a year where they likely wouldn't compete as much. And so they decided to take their chances. I don't know the reason, but I like it. Looking at where we are today, 5 games in, sitting at 2-3 as a football program, 2 blowout losses in the Big 12, things not looking great going forward for this season anyway. I like the fact that they have that 3, 4, 5 million, whatever the number is. We don't know the exact number, but they have that extra money going into next year to spend on portal players because West Virginia is losing at least approximately 40 seniors from the football team. That doesn't count guys underclassmen who will likely choose to enter the portal as well or be encouraged to enter it. So West Virginia will likely have to replace 40, 50 guys, ballpark, for next year. Or it may help you in recruiting high school players. Maybe you get some higher level high school talent. We've seen West Virginia even get commitments in the last week from three-star high school players, even including a quarterback. So I like the fact that they have this money to use for next year, which should help West Virginia, which should help speed up the quote rebuilding process even faster. At least that's the hope. $3 to $5 million, depending on what the number is, can go a long way. You can pay multiple players, multiple depth pieces, or you can pay a handful of guys or 2 or 3 guys anyway, large amounts of money. Maybe you go out and get an elite quarterback if you don't feel that guy's on the roster. Maybe you use it to build your offensive line and go out and get some studs up front. Maybe you go out and get an elite edge rusher. Whatever Coach Rod feels the need to do, they're now going to have more money to do that for 2026. And I personally think it's awesome. But I want to know what you think about this in the comment section, about the premium seating plan by Wren Baker, and about the NIL head start, or not necessarily NIL, the rev sharing head start, I should say, that West Virginia seems to be, or seems to have at least, going into next football season. Now, before we get into the next segment, which is talking about the quarterback situation with Nico and others, I have to do a quick shout out to my channel sponsors. So stick around and we'll be right back. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ. That's code COUZ to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Also want to remind you about the fine folks over at Appalachia Digital. They're the fine folks who designed our website over at wvsportschat.com, where you can find written content about the West Virginia Mountaineers. Appalachia Digital did a fine job designing that website. They can design you a website. Or if you already have a website and you want to upgrade it, level up, or if you want to get found easier on Google, go check out appalachiadigital.com/Couz. That lets them know I sent you. So look them up, appalachiadigital.com/Couz today. All right. Thanks for letting me get through the housekeeping, and thanks to our sponsors for supporting what we do. Now let's jump into the next topic of the show, which is the quarterback position, and specifically Nicco Marchiol. According to On3, Pete Nakos over at On3, Nicco Marchiol expected to medically redshirt and enter the transfer portal. Now, let's be honest. Most of us probably saw this coming. I mean, was it really hard to figure it out? Now, I didn't want to come out and say it was definitely happening because we didn't know that for sure. And we still don't know for sure that he's going to enter the portal, but I would say Pete Nakos is probably on top of things. Now, he did say the expectation is that he'll enter the portal. But listen, he come up to Coach Rodriguez and told him he was going to Colorado to see a foot specialist. If his intentions were to stay at West Virginia, do you think he would have done that? Or would he have just talked to the team doctors in Morgantown? You know, that's the first red flag to me. The second red flag is the fact that we heard Rodriguez. Well, the second red flag to me was that he was not around the team. Okay. The third red flag to me is that we heard Coach Rod say earlier this week that, oh, by the way, now he's going to see a specialist in Colorado. And Coach Rodriguez said in his radio show that apparently they have not really gotten on the same page those doctors in Colorado and Arizona with the team doctors. That's another red flag. So I think we saw this coming. And another thing, like the guys on 3 Guys Before the Game talked about, I think we can do the math. If a player all of a sudden is dealing with an injury or seeing a specialist or whatever after the 4-game mark, which is a cutoff before you can get a waiver to redshirt, if you play in that 5th game, you cannot redshirt. But the fact he's only played in 4 games, he probably knew, hey, I've got to do, if I play again, I won't have the option to transfer. Or I won't have the option to redshirt, rather. And if he planned on coming back to West Virginia again, I don't think he would be jumping through all these hoops to see all these other doctors, and he might be spending more time around the team. Just my gut, just my theory on that. So not a big surprise. But here's the first paragraph of this article by Nicco says, West Virginia starting quarterback Nico Marqueel is expected to medically redshirt. Multiple sources tell On3. The current expectation is that Marchiol will enter the portal and have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Talked about how he started the first 4 games of the year. Played in 23 career games in Morgantown, stayed on to play for Coach Rodriguez, all of that. We all know that. Now, before we get into the effects of this coming game, let's go ahead and talk about Nico. Does Nico fit the once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer? I think so. For all the fans going after Nico online, man, don't do that. Nico has spent 4 years at the school, 3.5, well, you could say 3.5 seasons on the football team, basically, or at least 3.25 on the football team. Started or played in 23 games. He's 2-0 against Pitt. Okay, 2-0. That puts him in some pretty good company among past West Virginia quarterbacks. Has one of the best moments in Mountaineer field history with that comeback win earlier this year that he was able to orchestrate in the 4th quarter. Nico loves West Virginia University. He stayed on when he didn't have to. When he lost the job to Garrett Green twice, he stayed. When Coach Brown, the coach he was recruited to play for, left, he stayed because he loves West Virginia. Now, he's at a point in his career where he's having to make a business decision. Okay, I can stay around, play injured. I have this foot problem. And for you people saying he's faking the injury, I don't buy it. Okay? Could I be wrong? I could be, but I'm not going to accuse a young man of faking an injury. Okay? Without proof. So he's got this foot problem. You can play the rest of this season with a bad foot in an offense that needs you to be able to run the ball behind an offensive line that's struggling and only have 1 year of college football remaining. Or you can decide to redshirt, sit out the rest of the year, and leave your options open. And now you have 2 years of eligibility remaining where you might be able to go somewhere where you might feel you're a better fit for the offense. You might be able to play behind a better or an offensive line that's not struggling. You're not on a team with 80 new players in the middle of a rebuild. He's probably at a point in his career where he doesn't necessarily want to deal with a rebuild. Now, maybe he thought the rebuild would go better under Rich Rodriguez than it has, and now he realizes that it's not going well, and he just, whatever. You have a right to your opinion. And look, let me know in the comments. Do you think Nico deserves the once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer mantra? I personally do. Now, do I like the way he's handled this whole thing? Not necessarily. But again, coaches are allowed to leave in the middle of seasons, or not leave middle of seasons, but you get my point. Coaches are allowed to leave. And now on some teams, you've probably got coaches interviewing for jobs in the middle of seasons because you've got vacancies at Virginia Tech, UCLA, now Arkansas, Stanford. You don't think coaches or at least their agents are talking to these teams in the middle of the season? They would have to be. You would think, if they want a chance at the job. And now we're in an era where players are getting paid too. It's a business. Whether I like it, whether you like it, whether any of us like it, it's a flat out business. And He's at a point where he's like, you know what? I have spent my entire college career doing what's best and being loyal to West Virginia. It's now time for me to be loyal to Nico Marqueel and look out for my future. And who knows, there's a lot of speculation on where he'll end up. Some think he may go out west and play for Arizona. Who knows? Any of that makes sense, really. Skylar Callahan actually has an article up on his site about potential landing spots for Nico. But, I don't have I have no ill will towards Nico Marqueel. Thank you, Nico, for the time you gave to West Virginia University. Thank you for putting your heart and soul, giving it your all and laying your heart and soul out there and on the line for West Virginia, laying your body on the line for WVU and the program and the state. Hopefully your love for West Virginia never wavers, man. Thank you for the great moments you gave us, the wins over Pitt, the great game against Arizona, and the run last year against Oklahoma State where you flat out ran over one of their best players. Thank you for all those memories, man, and I wish you well wherever you go. No ill will toward you, young man. So now let's talk about what's going to happen at the quarterback position at West Virginia. First and foremost, who starts this Saturday against BYU? The speculation was it would either be Jalen Henderson because of his experience at the P4 level already, or it would be Khalil Wilkins because of what he showed us last week against Utah. Well, according to the most recent player availability report for the BYU game, it won't be Jalen Henderson because he's also ruled out for the game. So it comes down to what? Max Brown, Khalil Wilkins, Scotty Fox. Max Brown, he's also on the availability report listed as questionable. So he's banged up. And he hasn't played hardly any this year. He's only played a couple of snaps. So that leaves us what? A redshirt freshman in Khalil Wilkins and a true freshman in Scotty Fox. Who gets the start? My gut feeling tells me it'll be Khalil Wilkins because of the poise he showed last week, because of the way he played last week, and he just seems more ready. But I would not rule out both quarterbacks playing in this game. Could we get another Pat White moment where Khalil comes in, balls out, or Scotty, for that matter? Or does West Virginia continue to have struggles finding a quarterback that can run the offense as effectively as Coach Rod wants? We will see on Saturday. Definitely going to be a tough situation, regardless of how you slice it. Putting a young quarterback who has never been a starter in this situation, in that environment, 10:30 p.m. kick in Provo, Utah, one of the most hostile environments in the country, the high altitude, in front of 60,000 loud fans on national television. Tough spot to be in for a young football player. But maybe, just maybe, one of these young men has the it factor, and they can go out here and have their moment. I'm excited to see it, to be honest with you. I'm excited for the newness. I'm excited to see somebody else take snaps behind center, to see what they can do, and to see whoever it is, whether it's Wilkins or Fox. I think it'll be Wilkins. Do we have the future quarterback on the roster? I think we could potentially, we may not learn that in this one game, but we could. But it could also go the other way. They might struggle. It'll be hard to tell. And you look, the offensive line, Kimo Makaniole is listed. I think he's listed as probable right now on the latest report. But we saw Coach Rod go to some of the other linemen, the backup linemen, Donovan Haslam, Josh Isosa, Malik Agbo, however you pronounce it. We saw him go to some of those guys. They played well. Carson Lee played pretty decent. So some of the backup linemen, and Coach Rod said he would likely continue to play those guys more. So is this finally when does everything finally start to come together for the Mountaineer program? And as far as the future of the quarterback position, like I said, we could find out whether the future quarterback's on the roster, or maybe they take that extra $3, $4, $5 million, whatever it is that Hoppy Kercheval talked about on his show yesterday, and maybe they go out and use that to land a top-notch elite quarterback a 5-star like guy, like we saw when JT Daniels came over. Now I know that was a bust. I get it, but this is a different staff, different time. Maybe they go out and find that next star quarterback. They get the next Will Grier. We'll see. Or maybe they like what they already have and what they have coming in the freshman class next year. Maybe they think one of those guys is the next future star. We will see. But I want to hear what you think about the quarterback situation. Let me know in the comments section. I want to give a quick shout out to my paid VIP channel members of this episode. The random shout outs go to T Jinx 048, Chris D, Cody Cutright, Henry of Scallots, and Virgil Milburn. Thank you all for being paid VIP members of the channel. If you want to be a paid VIP member, hit the join button below. If you don't see one on your device, go over to my channel homepage right beside my logo / profile photo. You will see the link to join. It tells you the perks that go with each one, which includes the random shout outs. If you're a $4.99 level member, you will get early access to several of my videos a week, or at least a few of them. And obviously all members will get first dibs, first priority in live streams in the chat. Thank you for those who are already members. Also want to give another shout out to my sponsors, DraftKings and Appalachia Digital. Thanks to the folks at Rogue Media Network, Rogue Sports Network, and 365 Sports. Please go check out the 365 Sports newsletter at 365sports.video. I'm blessed to be a part of that team where you get all your Big 12 content in one place. You can get videos, you can get written content, all of it right there at 365sports.video. Get your 365 Sports newsletter. There's another video on the screen right now that YouTube thinks you will like. Click on it. Oh, and if you're listening on podcast only, by the way, thank you for listening. Please give us a 5-star review and please follow us. Hope the rest of your day is top shelf. God bless. Q Country Roads. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home.